we heard the reporting, I think late in the show, maybe, or right after the show, Max, that Jayden Daniels was cleared to practice, but unlikely for Denver. I think it kind of means we're going to see him against Minnesota a week from Sunday in his first outing, not this week. I do wonder if there's any chance he's actually fully healthy and could play against Denver, but they'd rather him not play against the league's, top 3 defensive team in the league. I don't know. I doubt it. We'll see about Terry. Terry's apparently doing better. Noah Brown, the 21-day practice window opened up for him. And so maybe by the time we get to Minnesota, they've got the full allotment offensively. There were other Dan Quinn sound bites. So the follow-up question from John was, how important is it to see Jayden back out on the field this year? Here's what he said.
And how important is it for you to see him back out there playing again this year?
I think it's important as Jayden's getting going, learning to play this position at the highest level competitively, also doing it safely. And those are reps, that you develop as well. It's a skill just like throwing and processing. And so all those things are important. But him included, it was awesome today to have everyone really back at practice, John, including 3 guys that were in their 21-day window, and too early to call a lot of the guys, for the game. But getting on the field and having the guys here, John, that was a big deal, man, to have that many. It's been a long time since I've said that out loud of everybody's here and working. That's for sure.
It's got to be nice to actually see, some of the team you anticipated putting out there, especially on offense, all, on the field together, and the possibility existing that they might all be able to play, whether it's this coming Sunday night or the following week, because it's really been since the opener, right? I think that was the last time Washington was completely healthy on offense. I guess for the Green Bay game, although Noah Brown available for the Green Bay game, or was he hurt after the Giant game? I'm forgetting now. It's all running together. But, there's something that I wish I had heard Dan Quinn say in that answer, because he talked about, learning to play the position, learning how to do it safely, getting those reps. Those reps on learning how to play the position safely are just as important as, throwing and processing and all those reps. Part of me just wishes, at this point, he would just say, well, the importance of seeing our Daniels play again is he's our starting quarterback. He's our franchise quarterback, and we haven't seen enough of him this year. He's played 5.5 games. We want our starting quarterback out on the field playing for us. There was one more that I wanted to play from Quinn. This was a question that opened up, the opportunity for Quinn to answer, any thought the organization has had about shutting Jayden Daniels down.
Dan, you said Jayden's unlikely to play against Denver. Do you have in mind kind of a calendar or an expectation for when you think you'll see him on the field in a game? And was there at any point any consideration at all to saying, let's shut him down?
Yeah, the first part, Howard, I would say I didn't have a long-term space until you got more spots from the doctors, meaning how's the healing coming? Where is that going to go? The extension and flexion of the elbow. So once we knew that was headed in the right direction, then that, it would kind of take care of itself. When, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, that part, I don't know. And I still don't have all the answers on that. That's kind of how the player heals and where he's at. And then as far as that's not something we really discussed internally. The first part for us, honestly, Howard, was like, hey, how are we going to get the player better? And let's dig in on that first, not knowing the exact time frame. So that's really where the focus was, right away and right off the bat. We knew we had the bye coming, and then we'd have a chance to regroup and huddle up and, kind of push from there.
So there you go. I mean, they did not necessarily consider shutting him down. Again, part of me is like, well, no, we would never consider shutting down our starting quarterback. He's our starting quarterback. If he's healthy, he's going to play. there's, I guess, scenarios in which you don't play your starting quarterback, like you've already clinched going into the final week of the season, or going into the final week of the season, it's so bleak and you're really now the season's over. This conversation to me is it's an interesting one, and everybody's certainly entitled to their opinion. This from Dak Q2 in capital letters. Kevin, shut him down. Let's get to 2026, and that can be his second season. Well, no, actually, that would be his third season in the league. I know some of you agree with this. It's definitely a little bit of a mixed bag in terms of the way people feel. I mean, I've seen people in media, call for shutting him down. I've seen ex-players call for shutting him down. I've seen others say, well, that's just stupid. Why would you do that? I mean, we've talked about this. I personally think the idea of shutting your starting quarterback down with 30% plus of the season left is silly. It's just not. Like, in what world do you shut a healthy starting quarterback down for a third of the season, nearly a third of the season? Jayden Daniels is the franchise's starting quarterback. The starting quarterback, whether he's in his second year, fourth year, eighth year, or 15th year, plays. That's what you do when you're the franchise quarterback and you're healthy. Let me be clear. We've talked about this. He doesn't play unless he's 100% healthy. Nothing wrong with the elbow, nothing wrong with the hamstring, nothing wrong with the knee. He is healthy and ready to go, period. Doctors say there's nothing. None of these issues he has are like long-term or risky to play with. If the doctor says, hey, the elbow looks good, man, he can go out and play. I mean, it's not 100, but who cares because it's not his throwing elbow. No, he's not playing. So the given here is he's 100% cleared. He's good to go. He's Jayden Daniels health-wise. And if he is, he's our starting quarterback. And with 30% of the season left after Sunday, more than that, with 6 games left, we're at 34.5 or 35% of the season left. You don't shut your starting quarterback down for a third of the season. And it doesn't even have anything to do with getting him reps because he's a young player. Who does that? Joe Burrow's coming back to play earlier than expected off of a true long-term risk, turf toe, and they're 3-8. Why? Because he's the starting quarterback. Again, if there's a game left or 2 left, that's different. 5 games left, 6 games left. I mean, there are other reasons for Jayden Daniels in his specific circumstance. Second-year quarterback, only played 5.5 games this year, needs the reps. Why would he as a second-year player, everybody else in the locker room is looking around saying, we got our guy, he's fully healthy. What are we doing? I mean, what it could cause in the locker room, what it could cause with Jayden, who is a hyper-competitive dude. Those are good reasons, but the number one reason is he's the starting GD quarterback for your team. And he's 100% healthy. Again, the assumption being he's playing with 5 games, 30% left of the season left. That's what you do. You don't shut your franchise starting quarterback down in late November or early December. If you want him to sit in the season finale at Philadelphia, if he's looked good and the offense has performed at a reasonable level, with everybody back for 3 or 4 weeks in a row, and you want to, in that case, you should just let Josh Johnson start the final game of the year. Don't even put Mariota out there. No reason to. I get that season finale, even the final 2, if they've had 3 really good weeks or whatever. But I'll tell you what, man, like at Minnesota, at the Giants, Philly twice, Dallas, 5 games. It makes no sense from my vantage point why your starting quarterback wouldn't play in those games. The season finale notwithstanding. I got this from TJ. TJ wrote, playing Jayden in games where the final result doesn't mean anything is a waste. It's not even a good evaluation of where he is. You know, there is something to be said for, you know, games that you're mathematically eliminated in, and what kind of true environment is. Like every game in the NFL, when there are 17 of them, right? At least the first 12 typically are, hey, we got to win this game. You know, both teams trying to win the game. And then when you get into mid to late December, you know, unless you're a really bad team, and Washington could be that at 3-11 in 3 weeks, could be. You know, you can say, well, you know, you're just playing out the string. It's not the same evaluation. I hear you on that, TJ. I do, but it's not a preseason game. The game that they play against Philadelphia on Saturday, December 20th, even if they lose the next 3, right? So they're 3-11. That's not a preseason environment. And I'll tell you what, it makes a difference if the team you're playing has something to play for, which is the case this coming Sunday night against Denver, and will likely be the case in the Philly and Dallas games over a 5-day period, December 20th, Saturday, and then Christmas Day, the 25th. The motivation in those games, you know, to play spoiler, I don't know. I think it's a legit environment for evaluation, but I get what you're saying. It's not like, you know, if that's why when you get to the season finale and you really are playing out the string, even maybe the last 2, you know, and you've gotten all you needed over the last 3 weeks of seeing him out there and playing, okay, that's a different conversation. But the conversation on November 25th, shut him down? It's the dumbest. I don't want to say it's the dumbest. It's silly. It's soft. It's, I mean, there's no guarantee. What happens if he gets hurt in the opener next year and he's out for 6 weeks? No, he's the starting quarterback. He's going to play if he's healthy enough to play. And we'll get the benefit. They'll get the benefit of him playing and him getting the reps. Those are all good reasons in his situation to put him out there. But number one is he's the organization's face. He's their quarterback. He's already proven to be, more likely than not, a franchise quarterback, talent-wise, production-wise from last year for sure. He's out there in early December. I think he's going to play against Minnesota. We'll see. Maybe I don't want them to put him out there if he's not 100. That's a different, I mean, we're all in agreement on that, I think. I don't think anybody's saying, yeah, the knee's still a little bit messed up. The elbow's not exactly where they want it to be, but, you know, he can do it. Nobody wants that. That would be irresponsible. But the other is something I don't really understand. I mean, you get starting quarterbacks in the NFL. You know, we've thrown out the final week of the season deal, and maybe, you know, he sits for that one. You get starting quarterbacks, especially when they're young, playing right through the season. Caleb Williams and Bryce Young and others played right through the end of the season last year. I mean, why wouldn't they? They're their franchise's starting quarterbacks. All right. Well,